Yes, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jack Farmer, and this is the Evolution of Movies show. But I am not alone. I am joined by two men, and they are the Dean Sampson and Preston to my Simon Boggs. It's Andy Rossi and James Shippey. Fellas, how are you doing this far too early of a morning?
Well, all my life I wanted to be Zach Seiler, and I couldn't even make it on the podcast as Zach Seiler. So.
No, you could. No, you could.
There's only one Zach Seiler.
Hey, I'll take being Preston. Okay, that brother was loaded. You saw that house he had?
Yeah, he was doing all right. He was doing all right. Yeah. they were all they were all doing pretty good. I guess we'll talk about that in just a second. But for anyone who's new to the show, this is the Evolution of Movies. A real quick rundown of how it works. We watch movies and then we talk about them like a book club, but instead of just picking random movies, we call it the evolution of movies because we always pick a movie that came out 1 year after the last movie we saw. So we started with a movie in 1990, then went to 91, 92. Last week, we did 1998's Blade. That means we're at 1999 this week. Next week, it's 2000. I'm going to take you back to a time when sci-fi movies ruled the cinema with hits like The Matrix, The Phantom Menace, and of course, Galaxy Quest. But we aren't watching any of those. We're watching She's All That, a movie that Stephen Holden of the New York Times describes as a movie that, quote, examines how young people can be paralyzed by peer pressure and parental expectations. And IMDb says is about when a high school jock makes a bet that he can turn an unattractive girl into the school's prom queen. Now, not to age myself, but this movie was one that came out when I was about the age of the characters that were being played. So I thought it was fun to go back and relive a lot of these moments as how we viewed life back then. But James, had you seen She's All That before this? And what did you think going into it this time around?
I did see it, and I couldn't help but keep thinking when I saw this, like, oh, I remember this part from Not Another Teen Movie.
Yes, yes.
Same.
For some reason, even I think Not Another Teen Movie obviously came out after this. It parodied all of the teen movies, but the main premise of that movie was following She's All That. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Seeing it again, this is probably maybe only the second time I've watched this movie. But,
sure.
Yeah, I know, right? And I kept telling
second
my wife
time this
that.
month.
Yeah. Look, this is what I'll say about She's All That. It's the poor man's 10 Things I Hate About You. That's what it is.
Ooh,
There was a whole bunch of teen movies that came out during this 1999, which kind of blew my mind. And it's just a very nostalgic film. It's pretty good. It's got some issues, but overall, I thought it wasn't a bad movie.
I like that you mentioned the Not Another Teen Movie because, I know that Not Another Teen Movie was the parody, but watching this, it totally felt like this was a parody of Not Another Teen Movie for some reason. Like it felt like they were copying Not Another Teen Movie and not the other way around. And we'll get into some of the different parts, like looking at himself in his own picture. I was thinking, oh yeah, they did that in Not Another Teen Movie.
Yeah, that's a great part. Yeah,
but Andy, this is your pick. You picked this one. Tell us about it.
Just like you guys are saying, it was great nostalgia. We're all around the same age, so this was like right in the heart of my high school years. So it was great to go back, and a lot of pretty recognizable names in this film. We went from Boogie Nights that had a lot of recognizable names, and this one, it's, I think, the same caliber of talent.
Yeah. Same. Totally agree. 100%.
They had an Oscar winner in this movie, just by the way, Anna Paquin.
That's true.
I turned to Lena, I was like, oh, there's an Oscar winner in this film.
Do you still, whenever I see her, I always still say, it's Rogue from X-Men. I don't know about you guys, so that's what I always think when I see her. Maybe I just like superhero movies too much.
I think True Blood.
True Blood. Yeah. No, that's what I was thinking too. Sookie, right? Is it
Sookie, yeah.
Yeah.
All the adults say True Blood, but me, I'm like, X-Men, superpowers. This
Rogue is great though. Isn't Rogue's the one that just like does stuff with her hands and things happen, right? Is she? Is that? Oh, or is she the one you can't touch?
She can touch you. Yeah, she can.
I was thinking of Phoenix. I think.
Yeah, Phoenix is the one that can do kind of whatever she wants.
How do you beat Rogue if she just touches you and you're dead? Like, who can beat her?
No,
Rogue, just go touch everyone. Okay.
in a post-COVID world, don't we all have that power?
Yeah, we all do. That's good. That's good setup.
So let's talk about this movie. But before we do, I want to take a quick moment. Thank everyone who watches and listens. Thank you so much to anyone who has subscribed, commented, shared. If you're new to the show, please leave a comment, share, subscribe. A 5-star review on iTunes would be appreciated as well. That stuff helps us out, you know. But anyways, let's get to the show already. Guys, are you ready to turn this ugly duckling into a prom queen? Let's do this thing. We start with a hideous creature of a person painting to angry music, but the ugliest thing she does is besmirch corporate America and hawk a loogie into her brother's juice. But while at school, Freddie Prinze Jr. shows up and we see the array of characters that attend every movie in high school. And while worrying about his future, Freddie Prinze Jr. is dumped. Musical sensation Usher finds out about it and tells the entire school on the radio. So the movie is kicked into motion as a bet is made. Can the king of the school turn the Medusa of a person into the prom queen? James, we'll start with you. We get the basic setup, the basic premise here. This completely disgusting looking person is now part of a bet to become the prom queen. What are your thoughts as we set up this thing?
Well, I am sorry, I got to keep referencing it. Not another teen movie. It was so. But the parallel is obviously we see the ugly duckling. She's with her brother, and the whole thing with trying to get him up in the morning. But as far as the story is concerned, he sees the girl after he gets dumped from his girlfriend because she's dating the guy from the real world. And we have, I kept thinking, I know you guys would think this, but a melding of worlds. We have Scream meets I Know What You Did Last Summer, right?
Yeah.
Those teen horror movie worlds that we're talking about. But the thing that I noticed from Not Another Teen Movie that I thought was always funny was, I can't turn that girl into prom queen. She has glasses on.
She has paint on her overalls.
Yeah. Her hair's in a ponytail. This ridiculous stuff. And it's so funny, right? You said Medusa, but I mean, she's not that bad. She's not a dog. Okay. Gotta get my New York accent. She's not a dog. Okay.
Right.
She's just an artsy girl that, she's precocious, but, she can give it to the best of them, So, right. Yeah, I mean, we've seen this premise before 1,000 times. I feel like every teen movie within a 2 or 3 year period used this premise. 10 Things I Hate About You. This. I think Deliver Us from Eva. I think this is a whole with Taming of the Shrew. Mm-hmm. They're coming from like that Shakespearean thing. It's a very timeless tale. The guys make a bet and they try and get, change the girl, and the guy falls in love with the girl, but she finds out that there was a bet made about her and the guy needs to win the girl back. It's simple. It can be done every, we've seen it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Now, Andy, I want to talk to you about a certain part that happens during all this. Brock, who is an adult from the real world, rolls up to a high school and just starts groping a student there. I feel a little bit like some cancel culture would have taken care of that in the past. And we're only in Act 1. We're just starting the show, and this dude from a TV show starts groping kids at a high school.
Oh yeah, his name's Brock, right? I was gonna say Brock Landers. No, it's Brock Hudson, I think is his name. Yeah, comes out. Was he driving like a Firebird, and then Rick James, "Give it to me, baby," comes out, and that's kind of like his theme song every time he comes in. But yeah, he would not be accepted in the real life. But yeah, he's very entertaining. You know what I thought was funny is Taylor Vaughn. Who plays a very great bitch in this movie. Like, she's great. When she breaks up with Freddie Prinze, or Zach Seiler, they do like a little flashback of her on spring break for MTV. And it's funny because she's like, it's a big deal that she got to dance on a raft by herself. And like, I remember I was watching just now and going, who cares? But I guarantee when I was like 17, 18, if I got to dance on a raft on MTV, I would be the coolest guy in town. They'd be like, oh my God.
I'd still be telling the story.
It's true.
Yeah. And one other thing that I just thought was ridiculous is really showing the beginning how Freddie Prinze Jr. is the most popular guy in school. He's so popular and so cool that when he calls a girl Connie, she's like, oh my God, he said hi to me. And she's like, that's not your name, Cheryl, or whatever her name was. So he's calling people the wrong name and they love it. And then you got RachaelLeighCook, who's this so disgusting and
just miserable creature.
And it is funny that another teen movie does talk about it because it's ridiculous. Like you could, if you're doing the YouTube version, you could see RachaelLeighCook behind us, and she's not a swamp monster, but. And I feel like they didn't really even try that hard. She's working at like a falafel shop, which is pretty lame. And she's got like a silly hat on. And it's just like, and I think later she does a paint on her shoes. I'm just like, come on, guys. You could have you just put some glasses on her.
But you guys are missing one of the most gross things about her. And that's that she was poor. Ugh. Yeah.
And she sucked up a loogie.
But how poor was she? I mean, when you looked at the end of the house, I mean,
their house was nice.
Yeah, it was. I guess she had the smallest house on this expensive street, right?
Well, we're going to talk all about that because that is definitely an issue. I'll just say, if she's poor, then I am in a very bad financial state right now.
And her dad, wasn't her dad a pool boy?
He's pool like man.
A pool guy.
Yeah, man.
He had his own company, though. His own business, Andy.
Yeah.
His own pool cleaning business.
Yeah. And he was killing it.
He's so good.
We got to talk about the dad in a bit, too. He was wonderful.
So let's talk about, as things move on, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s dad is worried about Dartmouth not getting back to him, and his sister's trying to give him advice on how to win the heart of this absolute gargoyle known as Laney. But this is where we realize that the underdog of this story, Freddie Prinze Jr., is a well-off, good-looking, athletically gifted babe magnet from a rich family who got into every Ivy League school. And I don't know about you guys, but I just really identify with him. So Freddie, who doesn't know that no means no, goes to Laney's work and harasses her until he gets a date at the hottest show in town. And after watching some artistic expression, Freddie Prinze wows these art dorks with the purest form of athletic expression, hacky sack. So after the show, Freddie Prinze Jr. tells this painful to look at monster of a human to try taking her glasses off, and that gets her to say no. But Freddie doesn't know that no means no, so he goes to her poor single-parent family's Palos Verdes mansion on the hill overlooking Los Angeles and convinces her to go to the beach with him. And while at the beach, Freddie uses the line that all women love to hear, "You should smile more." All the cool kids show up, and over the course of the day, she makes friends with them, showing that the cool kids must be pretty cool because they can see past her disgusting appearance, and they invite her to a party later on, but she says no. Andy, this is kind of the part of the movie where now we're seeing these two worlds integrate. We're seeing this absolute monster of a person join the cool, beautiful people. How are you enjoying the movie as we get to this part of it?
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, like I said, I mean, they show her like working at this falafel place, which the guy that is the customer at the falafel place is wonderful. He's talking about supersizing his balls. He's great. I was hoping he'd show up again. The person we haven't talked about yet that is just an amazing actor. Poor Paul Walker. I love Paul Walker. And man, I don't know why. Did you guys notice he talks really loud? He talks much louder than everyone. All of his lines, and I wrote a couple of his lines, especially during that volleyball beach stuff. He says, "Check out the Bobos on Super Freak." And then he says something about, "Are you guys going to bump monkeys?" I'm like, what? He kind of reminded me of like a more fit, like Zach Morris, but he was like talking really loud.
That's perfect.
He was such a beach bro. He was an absolute beach bro, though. I loved it. He was such a good villain in this movie.
Yeah.
He was great.
But you're right. He almost sounded like he wanted to pick a fight every time he talked. He'd be like, even like when he was nice, like, "Hey Zach, we're gonna have a great party. Are you gonna come?" Like, jeez, dude, like,
calm down.
Calm down. This is the first time I've heard about it. Just ask like a normal person.
Yeah, he's always very aggressive. And later we'll talk about like all of a sudden he just calls Zach an asshole later on in the movie, like for no reason. I'm like, where did that come from?
Right.
Yes.
And sorry, before I forget, we definitely got to talk about this art show. The guy, I think his name is Mitch. Mitch is in his underwear with some little people, and just Laney comes out in a garbage bag, and then I just love how
it's so random, and it made me think like, oh yeah, this is so LA. Like,
yes,
it's so LA, and I'm sorry. Andy, you get this. That Mitch guy, didn't he look like a poor man's Andy Samberg? Like, he really did.
For sure.
Do you know who that was? I believe, I didn't look this up, but I believe he's the guy with the giant hand cannon from Pulp Fiction that was hiding in the bathroom. The one that looked like Jerry Seinfeld.
It was. And coincidentally, he's in Arquette, and I believe later transitioned to Alexis Arquette. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But he is Mitch in this movie. In this little
movie. That's fascinating.
Was this his biggest role?
Either that or the Pulp Fiction one.
Yeah, this was but that was such a 90s, by the way, art piece thing that felt so 90s with like the flashing screens and like the very grungy looking stuff showing up and like corporate America's out to get you and that kind of stuff. Just very 90s. But
and I remember watching this. I do remember the hacky sack part, and I actually remember thinking like, wow, Freddie Prinze Jr. is really good at hacky sack. Upon this viewing, I did notice there was never like a wide shot. It was always just like close up on his face, just like pretending to kick the hacky sack, and then obviously somebody else was kicking the hacky sack.
Oh yeah, when the wide shot, you could tell it was a stunt double. Like, but they made sure like his face was blurred enough. But I mean, the dude had even a different body composition than Zach Styler.
Yeah.
I remember thinking it was so cool back in the day that he's like using the hacky sack to fit in. I was like, yeah, because that's cool. But this time I had secondhand embarrassment. Like, oh, bro, please don't pull out a hacky sack. This is so corny.
And one other thing I wanted to mention too, sorry, was this. Speaking of Matthew Lillard's character, I just love how he's watching his own episode. That's just so perfect. He's like watching his own Real World episode and commenting on it. It's so perfect. This is so perfect for the time.
I would 100% watch my own Real World episode. I don't blame you, Brock Hudson. I don't blame you, Matthew Lillard. I would totally do the same thing. I was watching this guy, though. Matthew Lillard, he was clearly the kid that I think you always had to give him something to do because he had a ton of energy. But I felt like he was born to play like a Riddler or a Joker or some kind of comic book villain. I think he was such a out there character. I thought he could have done so much more than just the teen movies.
There's still time.
I guess there is still time.
That's true. That's very true.
Because I don't know, I could see him in like the Riddler outfit, you know, acting that same way, acting over the top, but then just throwing riddles out every now and again.
No, I could agree with that. I mean, this was like, he did a lot of physical comedy in this movie. I mean, and even with the dance scene that we'll talk about later. And it's silly, but I mean, you're talking about someone fully committed to like the physical comedy, and everyone can't do that. You know what I mean? So, you know, I give him that. He always like delivers when it comes to that. He's always like kind of that comedic aspect of movies, especially Scream. He stole every scene when he was in that movie. And pretty much
killed it in Scooby-Doo as well.
Oh, of course. Shaggy, right? Was it Shaggy?
He has a sneaky big catalog of movies, by the way, that he's in. Because he's someone I always think like, oh yeah, he's in a couple of movies. But then as you're naming, I'm like, geez, he's in a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
He had like a 10-year run where he was going pretty hard, I think. Maybe 5-year run.
With that being said, Jack, aside from She's All That, Scream, and Scooby-Doo, name another movie with Matthew Lillard.
He was in SLC Punk.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Touche.
13 Ghosts.
I was ready for you.
Oh, 13 Ghosts. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you guys are right.
Yeah,
just
got it.
Just testing you.
Well, Well, speaking of testing, Freddie says that, or Lainey says she doesn't want to go to the party, but again, Freddie doesn't know that no means no. So he invites the entire soccer team into her home, which, by the way, a small cameo from Jack Pearson from This Is Us right here. And after spending all day there, Sixpence None the Richer plays Kiss Me, which is the quintessential 90s movie song. And I was as shocked as everyone else that after this makeover, suddenly this swamp donkey of a hose beast is a beautiful woman. I couldn't believe it. So just shocked. But at the party, Paul Walker wants to know if they're in love, and Freddie says, a bet's just a bet. But Lainey, she goes to the bathroom, and the girl that told her to kill herself is throwing up. And Lainey says, you work on commission, right? Big mistake. Or at least I wish she would have. That would have been a fun line. But Brock is the life of the party as he dances to Give It To Me, Baby. And I don't care. I love this guy. But it leads to the popular girl spilling the drink on Lainey. So she leaves the party and decides she's done being popular, but she's still using the contacts, which... thank God, because I don't know if I could have looked at that Uggo face with the glasses anymore. But once you're popular, you're always popular. So she's nominated to be prom queen and may win because Brock dumped the prom queen expected winner the same way she dumped Freddie. And that's just so sweet. More conflict erupts as Paul Walker tells Freddie Prinze Jr. he's going down, asshole. So Freddie goes to Lainey's house and she says, you're not allowed down here. But Freddie still doesn't know that no means no. So he walks in anyways, and they talk about Dartmouth and cancer before almost kissing. And Freddie realizes that if she does become prom queen, then he wins the bet. And that kind of makes him a jerk. Now we're getting more and more to this kind of point where we know that things are getting rough. And I guess one last thing before we get into the final act I want to mention is that at school, there's a group of people rapping about the day's news. And I don't know about you, but that's exactly how I got all my school gossip.
Rap battle.
Yeah, through a rap battle. And after a bivvy of high school movie cameos, we get high school movie cameos and pubic hair, and Paul Walker now goes to Lainey's job, shoots a shot. Freddie Prinze Jr. says to his dad, I'm not you, Dad, before Paul Walker tattles on Freddie Prinze Jr. about the bet. And Lainey says my favorite line, or no, Paul Walker says my favorite line, people have feelings, before Lainey says, I was a fucking bet, which we all now know from this movie. This sets up the final act, you guys. This is where everything falls apart. This is, as you guys have mentioned before, sort of the all hope is lost kind of moment when she hates Freddie Prinze Jr. now. James, tell us about the rap battle and how you figured out about things in high school.
Look, the cipher that these guys are having, it brought me back, okay? Because like I said, I grew up in Houston. So, that's the thing. Like, dudes, whether we're in the car together, on the bus, or in the cafeteria, someone's, beating on the table. And, if you guys are rapping and people are gathering by, you know what I'm saying? So, I love that stuff. And they're basically saying the plot of the movie. And at one point, they even mentioned the title of the song, She's All That, at the end.
Of course they do.
Yeah. Hey, they said it.
Yeah, they said it, right? So, look, there's a lot of problems here. Let's just be clear with some of the issues in this at these problems. First of all, what's the girl's name? The one that's the meanie, the
Taylor Vaughn.
Taylor Vaughn.
Yeah, such a mean girl name.
Yeah.
First of all, how did she know that Freddie Prinze Jr. is dating this girl specifically? I don't know if there was any interaction. And
through the cipher.
Yeah, the cipher, of course. She was there.
I heard through the rap battles that you're dating.
Yeah. And then she confronts Lainey. This is a house full. First of all, let's make this clear. Preston's dad is loaded. When Paul Walker said Harrison Ford or something, it's like, his dad definitely owns Harrison Ford to have a house like that. There's got to be at least 200 people in this house. And the music stops. During this one interaction between that, like, everyone stops what they're doing at this party so this girl can spill a beer down the other girl's dress. I just didn't see much point to that. And if you go a little deeper, I like Freddie Prinze Jr. I thought he did a this is great acting for him. Okay, that sounds weird. Like I'm giving him a trophy, but
Yeah.
I had a problem with, like, I guess his inner conflict, or like the arc of his character. Although he's the popular guy in school, and yes, he calls some people by the wrong name, he's not. He's a really nice guy for a popular guy. So, like, I use the example of 10 Things I Hate About You with Heath Ledger's character. You can see a true arc because he's kind of a jerk and a brute, and he kind of learns, like, a little bit more about himself through dating this girl, or trying to win a bet to turn the shrew into, like, an everyday girl. So I had some issues with that, and I mean, he's got some first world problems. He's getting into Dartmouth, Harvard, and okay, I don't want to be like you, Dad, but every, I guess, kid has to deal with that to a certain extent. I don't know. I think that may have been where this movie's lacking for the most part. Other than that, I think it's kind of a cool teen film. I know that's kind of maybe a wrap up I'm saying, but at these parts, that was my issues with it.
You do make a good point about, like, it's hard to, like, because the person we're kind of rooting for, like, one of the heroes of this is Freddie Prinze Jr. It's hard to root for the guy who literally gets everything he wants nonstop throughout his entire life and the movie. Nothing goes. At no point does anyone really challenge him, except for Lainey, and even she is kind of like, I don't really, I don't trust you, but yeah, okay, I like you.
Yeah.
Like, there's no. And then even when he's, like, confronting the bullies in the scene, and Andy, definitely I want you to chat in a second about this, but when they confront the Shermanator and his buddy as they're picking on the little brother, and he's like, "You eat the pizza." In my mind, the whole time I was thinking, no one's scared of Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
Like, these, like, if he said that, they'd be like, "No, get out of here. We'll beat you up too." Like, there's nothing intimidating about him that would make you go, "Oh, we better listen." Like, he doesn't. If it was Paul Walker, I would get it. Like, that guy has, like, a presence that he'll beat you up. But the whole time, I'd be like, "What are you going to do about it?" Like, I'm not scared of you. But
where's the cafeteria monitor? I don't know what high school you guys went to, but in my high school, you had cafeteria monitors everywhere. There's the security guards. They're watching because shit goes down in certain high schools. No one's doing nothing about this. I mean, he's talking to these guys like this at least for 10 minutes, it feels like.
Yeah.
And what I thought the whole scene is disgusting, but for one, the little brother, is he in high school? What's he going around putting pepper on things? Like, this whole time I thought he was, like, in, like, 6th grade. Suddenly he's at the high school asking people if they want fresh pepper. I think he deserves to get picked on, but I don't know, man. How easy can you just take your pubes off? Like, he's just like, I didn't see, like, a little scissors there. Like, he's just pulling pubes out and put him on a pizza. I'm like, dude, you got to get something checked out like that.
Hold on. Here's the situation, though. When he was initially put, I didn't know what that was. I thought he was putting, like, he's sprinkling cocaine or something on it. He's sprinkling it. That
would have made more sense.
Yeah. And when they do a close up of the pizza, then you see it. I mean, this dude has some. I don't even want to repeat it. It's just disgusting.
Yeah.
So disgusting.
There's some spiders. And I like just to show that, like, those guys were jerks. Though not Shermanator, the other guy, his shirt says "Kill all artists." That's his shirt. Yes. I'm like, how perfect. Wow. But I thought the same thing with Freddie Prinze, and how, I'm like, I even told my wife, we were watching it together, I'm like, those two guys could take Freddie Prinze. Like, they could take him. And speaking of Freddie Prinze, like, you keep saying, like, he doesn't know no, and I think it's so right. He comes across likable, but, like, when he goes over to the Lainey's house with the soccer team and a dress and a makeup artist, I don't know. I would think Lainey would be like, "Hey, I'm good. Like, house is pretty clean." And, like, the dress, I mean, I've been with my wife a long time, and I'd be kind of confident that I could pick out a perfect dress. Like, Freddie Prinze is like, "Here's your dress, perfect size, perfect color. Here you go." And she does wear it. And, I kind of was hoping she would be a little bit more ballsy because, like you said, Jack, like, she kind of just, like, is like, okay. Even with the Taylor Vaughn stuff, I feel like she when she has that confrontation with her, she's doing really well for herself. She's kind of like she's outwitting her, and then she just starts crying, and I feel like so bad at that part. I'm like, you were so close, you were battling really well, and then she starts crying, and I was kind of surprised at that because usually characters like hers are kind of the ones that like don't let the popular people bother her. But that I don't know, that scene really bugged me.
And let's not forget, because of her getting beer spilt down her dress, her reward for being humiliated in front of all her classmates was, you know what, that should be prom queen. Like, I thought that was kind of an interesting twist that I guess, that made people want her to be prom queen. But maybe in hindsight, it's because, you got the other popular girl angry. We want to reward you because we like you more than her. Maybe that's probably why.
There was a very small line where I think it was they were getting paged, which God, I feel old.
With Lil Kim.
Lil Kim got paged. God, I feel old. But we have where they were like, Taylor needs us, and she's like, things change, and implying that like Lainey's cool and nice, where Taylor's mean, so they don't really like her anymore.
That makes sense.
But overall, to the point. Also, again, to the no means no thing, and Lainey not stand up for herself. I think if he did know her, if they were a good, like, she's very standoffish. She doesn't like people. And so the idea that he brings an entire soccer team of people she doesn't know into her home and then invites her sister to come in and starts changing everything about her felt very character breaking in a lot of ways. Like, they'd be like, no, I'm not gonna let a bunch of strangers into my house. And like I'm not even that standoffish, but if you just said, hey, by the way, I brought 12 strangers to come dig through your stuff and start putting things away, I'd be like, no, get these weirdos out of here. I don't know these people.
And it was great too with the Kiss Me song that plays and she comes down the stairs, and I forgot that she actually does trip down the stairs, because in Not Another Teen Movie, I think she like falls through the stairs something. I was actually surprised at that. One guy I did want to talk about before I forget is her dad. I thought he was so great. I don't know if you noticed, but when they were cleaning his house, he doesn't see them for the longest time, all the soccer players. He's watching Jeopardy, and he's doing what I do. I watch Jeopardy more than I'd like to admit, and I always yell out the answers, and I'm right 30% of the time, if that. So, and I love how he just kept yelling out the wrong answers every time. I don't know why. I just thought that was funny. He was great.
And then one of the soccer players yell out some of the right ansers.
Yeah.
And he's like,
I think that's when he finally realized.
Where'd you guys come
from? That was the dad is fantastic, and that actually I want to talk about let's talk about the final act. Is Lenny's staying home from prom, and her dad convinces her to go. A very underrated line where he says, "Go for you, no one else," which I think is actually a really good kind of MVP line of the movie for parenting. But it's Paul Walker who takes her to prom, and Funk's soul brother kicks in, and we see the world's first TikTok dance unfold while a guy that looks like Philip Seymour Hoffman's son starts working his game on Freddie's sister.
I wrote
that. Freddie wins the prom queen, and the villain wins prom queen in the closest race in the school's history, because schools totally keep track of those things. But there's no time to celebrate as Freddie hears that Paul Walker is going to take Lainey to room 409. So he goes on an epic cock-blocking mission to Lainey's home, which is where she decided to go after implying she had to use a blowhorn to get Paul Walker's hands off of her. They have a moonlight chat by the pool, and he asks for the last dance, and she says, no, I'll give you the first dance. And I think later he said, oh, you thought that when I went off to Dartmouth, I'd still be dating you? That's so sweet. But anyways, he lost the bet, so he exposes himself to the school, and now he's a registered sex offender. That's how the movie ends. I thought this was a fun kind of way to wrap it up. I think it all went pretty well overall. But Andy, you picked the movie. I'll let you have the first words on the final say.
I think we could talk for quite some time to try to figure out how Usher had time to teach all the students the Usher dance, Funk Soul Brother. This is the greatest dancers in any high school in America. Like, aside from maybe that end scene in Footloose when suddenly there's like all these people that know how to dance. I mean, just like these awesome dancers all coincidentally went to the same high school. We didn't see any of these people earlier in the movie, but for the prom scene, they were there and they all knew the dance. It was just so ridiculous. We haven't really
and
talked
a little
about
trivia, and I just want to say a little trivia to that is that dance scene was not in the script, but the movie was running short. So they added it last minute so they can make this movie a little longer. You remember it lasted for like 5 minutes. So I'm just like, oh, that's interesting.
They, I thought you were going to say it wasn't scripted in the movie, but they all just broke out and improv'd it.
That'd be amazing.
Let's just cast a whole bunch of dancers just in case. Let's just see what happens, folks. And
Usher's like, I got it.
Yeah,
I got this. Yeah.
By the way, I like to pretend that was Usher playing himself, even though it likely wasn't. In my mind, I like to think Usher was just DJing at the school because everyone's so rich, and that was his side hustle.
I was actually thinking that. I don't think Usher ever has a character name. No. I think in the credits it just says like
he's school DJ.
During this time, there were a lot of musical acts trying to do cameos during movies because obviously Lil' Kim was in this, and Cisco, I believe, was in a couple of movies during this time period. Speaking of feeling old, but
who?
And I think this is where like Ludacris started getting involved with Fast and the Furious, if I'm not mistaken, or kind of right after this.
Time, yeah, maybe after this. Yeah, a couple years later. Yeah.
And so I was thinking, I bet during this time there was some kind of synergy between a record company and a movie company, and they were trying that kind of crossover thing at the time.
Well, I mean, big time. I mean, I was just gonna say too, I almost forgot that Little Kim's character was basically pointless in this movie. She was just like there to be like, yeah, or where's so and so. Like they didn't utilize her at all. Now they should have had her in the cipher. I mean,
yeah, what was that?
Imagine like having her with the rapper. She's a rapper, and they don't even have her in a rap scene.
That's
what
true.
Sense does that make?
Yeah,
think about it, right? So
they had Usher and Lil' Kim, and neither of them were in that scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. We could have got like a hot
Yeah.
single from Usher and Lil' Kim.
Perfect. Yeah, especially in that movie. I'm surprised they didn't have a single in that movie. But anyways, you know, it is what it is.
One other thing. Oh, sorry. One other thing I just want to mention, aside from the choreographed dance, which I kind of want to watch it again and learn it.
Yeah, dude, but, that could be a TikTok hit. I bet.
Oh,
if you could like find a way to TikTok it and make it like to one thing for a minute, I bet people would go nuts for it.
Viewers out there, go ahead and send us your videos. Yeah. I don't even know anything about TikTok. But I was thinking Paul Walker kind of makes the right move here. Like he goes to find Lainey, where Freddie decides, hey, instead of going to get Lainey, I'm just going to go with my sister.
I want to go back to Paul Walker. He is such a good, especially the last half of this movie, he kicks it into high gear. Like I said, when he talks about the bet and the guy's like, and Freddie Prinze Jr. is trying to get past it. He's like, hey man, leave it alone. People have feelings. And he's like, I didn't invite anyone else on the hopes that maybe you'd come with me, Lainey. Like he's just such a, I don't know, the way he says it, you can just tell he's such like, you're like, oh, you jerk. What a horrible.
He's full of it.
He says a line too. I think he describes Lainey's character as she's a great little jam. I don't know what that
means. Hold on. What about him revealing about the bet? I'll be honest. I thought that was so cheap and weird. Yeah. I'm not trying to like overjudge it, but for him to be like, hey, look, man, the bet's over. Like, I don't know. I thought like, come on. It's funny because these movies all have to find their own way to reveal the bet to the character. And normally it's more accidental when they find out. I thought it was a little too easy for them to just reveal it, just so we can just keep it moving. And I don't know, even after that, Freddie doesn't really pay for the bet, right? He doesn't really pay for it. Yes, it's awkward at the dance, but at one point she's like, okay, well, what was the bet about? I don't know. He didn't really put him in too much hot water.
Well, I also felt like, to your point, and I like that you mentioned that, he broke all bet code with that. You're not allowed any bet. You're not allowed to say it's a bet. That's part of the rule. Like if I bet someone, hey, I bet you can't go talk to this person, whatever. You can't walk over to that. Hey, I was bet to come talk to you. You have to.
Yeah.
You can't just acknowledge that. That defeats the whole purpose. So it felt like he kind of, once he did that, I felt like he broke the rules and he lost the bet in that case. Personally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But his hair was great.
Oh yeah, his hair was great. You know, and another thing is with I love this dude. You say Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, Jesse Jackson. His name is
from Mighty
Jackson.
Ducks, right?
Yeah. His name's Jesse Jackson. Cool name, by the way, to just throw out there for him to have.
Well, when I think of Jesse Jackson, I think of the Rainbow
Jesse
Coalition.
Jackson.
Yeah, Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
There will be no preference to his vast deference. What he said. Anyway, that's a whole Obama thing he did. But but Jesse Jackson overhears that Paul Walker's trying to nail Laney. He's going to, he's like, I love how he says, room 409 is going to be a historic landmark. And I love Preston being like, what, you're going to get murdered there later?
Yeah, I love that.
I love that line.
He's great, Preston. What's his real name? Dule
Hill. Yeah, Dule
he's
Hill.
great. He's in the West Wing, right?
Yeah, he's in the West Wing, and also
he's
I
great.
forgot the other show on Psych. Is it Psych? I think that show.
Yeah,
or USA show. But this is the thing I could not buy. Jesse Jackson finds out this information. Instead of trying to tell Laney, he's trying to rush to tell Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character, who I haven't seen him speak to not once in this film. Maybe he did in passing. I often knows of him.
He talked about him. He was infatuated with
he
him.
talked to him only once during the when he first gets that date to the art show.
Okay. He did, exactly.
But he's into him too. Jesse Jackson's pretty into Freddie Prinze as well.
I mean, apparently, because he's not going to tell his best friend he grew up with what the plot is. He's going to tell her boyfriend, who we also know is betting to get with her. So I don't know. It's just interesting.
Part of me too. I thought like he's running to go tell him like, yeah, it's prom. What do you think? Oh, that's so you probably said to every date at the prom. What are you talking about?
He's got to confront every guy there. Every guy's trying
every single guy. He's gonna go. He's just gonna go around telling everyone, like, yeah. Have you seen American Pie? That's basically what prom is.
And
the whole movie.
And he just met Anna Paquin. I feel like it's like, dude, take a note from Paul Walker. Maybe.
Right. Yeah. Way to set up that future relationship. The first night you hang out together, you're cock blocking some dude. That's going to pan out for you. That's real long-term thinking there. That whole thing was very silly to me.
And we were robbed of seeing how she dealt with Paul Walker's character. I think she said I don't know. I forgot what she said happened, but we didn't get a chance to see how that resolved itself. She just comes back home after the next scene and says it didn't work out.
Yeah, she said she used a blowhorn in his ear.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, it kind of implies that he got a little too handsy for her to have to do that. But so you're right. Instead of the dance scene, they could have had a fun scene there. But I like the dance scene. I thought that was fun.
She could have punched him or something. I could have used like a Paul Walker punch from RachaelLeighCook
at the prom.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. Let's have the
or maybe a kick to the junk, maybe, or maybe he had to eat a pube pizza. Something.
I thought it was I thought it was ironic. His comeuppance at the end was that he couldn't hear anymore because of the blowhorn. Yet the whole movie, by the way, they never really say or mention it, so I don't know why they added it. But the little brother has hearing aids, so I don't like the comeuppance is that he's got the same issues as the little brother. I don't like that. He didn't really get. Weird. He didn't really get what his like the prom queen also didn't really even get that bad of a come up.
Her microphone got unplugged.
Thank you to everyone who voted for me. You're great. And to everyone else. I wanted to hear what she had to say. It was great.
Yeah, she was great. I thought she did such a great job of being such a bitch.
Yeah, she played it perfectly.
Her and Matthew Lillard were I just really like their scenes together. They're so just it was funny because she was so rude to everyone else, but then he was super rude to her. It's just, I don't know, it's just so perfect.
It was. And I thought it was so funny that when Lacey tells Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character, there's a lot of sexual harassment issues going on here. I thought it was so ironic. Because I don't know if you guys noticed at the beginning of the film, this is a Harvey Weinstein movie.
Yeah.
He produced this. And anytime you see that, you think about it at the time. I'll be honest, there was a lot of stuff that didn't date well. The way they talked about women and all that stuff. I got to turn to my wife. Even in the beginning, the way they were talking about women and their racks and this and this. And I get it. We're in high school. Boys going to be boys. Men will be men sometimes, obviously, right? but I was just like, yeah, this doesn't really age well. Some of this dialogue here.
No, especially like Jack said with the Matthew Lillard coming out at we never know how old he is to be dating a high schooler.
Yeah. I mean, because even if she's 18, though, just the optics, like, could you imagine? That'd be all over TMZ if someone from Big Brother just rolled up to Torrance High School and started groping a kid there. That would be all over the news.
And yeah, we didn't even mention it was filmed at Torrance High School right down the street from my house.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was looking for Eddie Adams. I didn't see him.
Yeah. I used to jog right by there all the time. Yeah. And I'd always be like, hey, there's that. That school's in a lot of movies.
Yep. Well, it's in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and she's got a quick. Did you see her cameo? Like Sarah Michelle Gellar's in there for a second, and then she's gone.
What a cameo! What a cameo!
Right.
They've got everybody in this movie. Like during that time period, all the teen people. So I thought that was kind of cool. So.
Which is so funny. If you watch it now, if you're younger and you watch it now, you wouldn't even understand that that's a cameo, I bet. You know what I mean? Because she's not really doing a lot of big things anymore.
And she doesn't say anything in it either. She's just there for like a sec. Because she's there, and then I think she's there during the Pube Pizza part, and then she's not there again when they like pan back. No.
Yeah, so she was just there for one moment. But in any case, I thought this was a fun movie. I thought it was... I always say when you watch movies, I always like to watch them for what they are and not go into them expecting them to be more than they are or less than they are. Like if I turn on a Rambo movie, I'm not going to watch it for an Oscar caliber performance. I'm going to watch it for explosions and people getting shot up. This was, I thought, exactly what it was advertised to be. So I thought I personally enjoyed it. James, we'll let you start. Do you have any final thoughts or feelings on She's All That?
Yeah, well, like I said, this was Andy's pick. I just wanted to make that very clear. But no, the funny thing was, I had my mixed feelings about starting to watch it, but it actually has some really good, fun stuff in it. And it's got some really good comedic moments. And it's a lighthearted movie. So I would call this like an easy watch. Right. So you have some movies that might be on and you could have it on in the background, or you could catch it at any moment in the film and start watching it. It's not trying to overly challenge. And I thought it was a fun movie, and it really just captures the zeitgeist of those late 90s, early 2000s, I guess, teen films. It's just so funny to see all those like actors in it, like all these. It's a lot of who's who in these films. So and it had a lot more cameos in it than I expected. But I thought it was a fun movie. It was pretty chill.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about doing the show is when we get movies or moments that feel quintessential to that time period. And this movie 100% is quintessential 1999. I think as far as that goes, it's perfectly picked. But Andy, you're the one that did the picking. After watching it again, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think it really, nostalgia-wise, it was great. I felt like it was kind of hit me right in my childhood. So I think it was a good watch, but I definitely thought it would be something like that would be just an episode of a television show. Now it definitely didn't feel like a movie that would be made now. Now I don't think there's like as lighthearted high school comedies anymore as far as I can think of it. There's always like some dramatic element in it. Somebody gets murdered or whatnot. So so this was nice. I mean, any movie that ends with a naked Freddie Prinze Jr., sign me up.
Yeah, I was actually wondering that because I feel like they made so many of these back in the day. I don't know if they still make. I was wondering, do they not make high school movies as much anymore, or do I just not notice them because I'm older and I just kind of like don't care? Do you guys know, or maybe they just go to Netflix or streaming, and so I don't. And
now
see
it's like Riverdale and like those type of CW shows.
Yeah, maybe shows, and these shows obviously, All American, for instance, a high school movie, but they can do some more heavy hitting stuff in television shows, right? And more character development. But this was a time period. There was so many high school-esque movies, and you're seeing these actors. They're in not only this one but that one, and maybe sometimes in the long run, you maybe not say to the detriment because you take the jobs and you can, but some of them kind of got typecast. Freddie Prinze Jr. he's a pretty good actor from those movies, but he had a cluster. He's doing all these kind of very similar kind of movies, and I don't think he ever kind of got out of that. Although he's kind of had a long career in the grand scheme of it, doing other stuff. But I think he kind of got typecast as the high school guy, like the good-looking guy that has a little depth to him.
I think a lot of them got that too. Even RachaelLeighCook, I think, kind of had that happen to her as well.
Yeah.
But
and there's speaking of RachaelLeighCook, there's a reboot called He's All That I read about. It's a real thing coming, I think, in a couple months here. So
I don't know if I don't know if it'll be the same roles reversed. I think if the nerdiest kid in school suddenly dating the hottest girl in school, every dude would immediately expect, yeah, of course, he's super cool. I like this dude. Like, yeah, he's crushing it.
A three minute movie.
Yeah, that's all it would be. We'd all be like, sweet, dude. Okay, he's cooler than I thought. There'd be no like learning curve to it. We would just go, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they can find someone who looks just as atrocious as she did with glasses on. Ugh.
Yeah. Paint on her shoes.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
What a dog. What a dog.
We have a
falafel shop she works at.
A falafel shop? Ugh.
That hat she had on. She fell tripped on the stairs.
Total disaster.
Just a train wreck of a living person. But Andy, do we have a 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon for this teen movie classic?
Of course, and this one's gonna throw you guys a little bit. We
Sneakers.
got Matthew Lillard. yeah. I mean, I'm sorry to disappoint our listeners, but this might be a little different today. Matthew Lillard, who was glorious in this movie, was in Scream, as we talked about, and he was with Neve Campbell. Neve Campbell was in Wild Things with Kevin Bacon.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wild Things. I almost picked Wild Things to watch for that year when it came out.
Oh man, that would have been a good one.
That I think I probably picked Empire Records instead.
Yeah,
Lucky us.
Next year we'll do like 2 weeks of 1995.
To make up for it. So that does it for this week's episode. Next week's episode is going to be about the year 2000, which still sounds like it's so far in the future. James, you're picking that one, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what movie did you pick for 2000?
I picked American Psycho.
American Psycho. That's going to be a fun one. So everyone make sure to watch American Psycho and join us the next week. The following week, 2001, I picked, and that's going to be the Robert Redford, Brad Pitt classic Spy Game, which I saw in theaters when it came out and have not seen since. So it'll be interesting to see how that one holds up. And then we go to the year 2002. Andy, let us know what we're going to be watching for that.
Yeah, well, 2002, I felt like there's a lot of like sequels and part 3s and whatnot. There's like some Lord of the Rings. I think there's Harry Potter's. I think there's a Star Wars thrown in there. But there's one movie that just got its start, and that's a movie, a little indie movie called Spider-Man.
Ooh, nice. I like Spider-Man. I loved Spider-Man when it came out. It'll be interesting to compare Tobey Maguire, who is still my Spider-Man, and compare him to today's Spider-Man, the Tom Holland Spider-Man, and see how that all holds up. So if you're listening, do yourself a favor, check out American Psycho, check out Spy Game, and check out Spider-Man, and we'll be reviewing those over the coming weeks, and you can follow along and you'll get all these inside jokes that we keep talking about. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you could do us a favor, share the show, leave a comment, leave a review, all that good stuff. James, where can the world find you online?
Yeah, you can find me at JShippy2 on Twitter and at JEShippy2 on the Instagram.
And Andy Rossi, where can the world find you and what you're working on?
You can find me at just Andy Rossi.
And you can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. One more time, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you again next year.